Hello there folks, my name is Spoonks and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show where we break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did, so let's get started. Number 5 was Jurassic World Dominion, making $8.5 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $350 million and a worldwide total of $876 million. So at this point, it definitely seems likely that this is going to be the last time we see it in the top 5. I mean, just look where it's ranked right now and how much money it's making. It's definitely slowing down. The hype and anticipation for this film has definitely died down within the coming weeks, and it's certain to be the lowest grossing film in this Jurassic World trilogy. But even with so, much like many of the other big blockbusters this year, that doesn't really amount to anything because it's already made such a huge amount of money. I can see people being bummed that the film didn't live up to the other films' huge amounts of success, but I don't think they would be disappointed because it's already made such a huge amount of money for the studio that it doesn't really look that bad when you couldn't put it into consideration with the other films released this summer. It definitely made a lot of money. It is a huge box office success. It's about to surpass The Batman domestically, and it's about to surpass $900 million worldwide. I'd call that a hit, and it certainly made more than its $185 million budget. It certainly doubled that as well. So yeah, while it is a bit of a bummer that this movie wasn't as big of a hit as Jurassic World or Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, it's still nonetheless a huge bona fide success that I'm sure the studio is happy with how much it made. So while this is definitely the last time we see it in the top 5, it still had a pretty solid run at the box office, and I don't see any reason why anyone would be upset by how well this movie has done. Number 4 was Elvis, making $11 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $91 million and a worldwide total of $155 million. So not only did Elvis continue to impress with how well it was able to hold this weekend against stiff competition, it also pushed its domestic total to becoming even closer to $100 million domestically, not only being the 11th film this year to do so, but it would also make it Warner Brothers' second highest grossing film of the year, domestically at least, surpassing Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore, which I'm sure this movie's going to be able to do by the end of the week, which is insane to believe. And I knew for a fact that Secrets of Dumbledore was not going to do well, but if you told me that the Elvis biopic would do better than that earlier this year, I would call you crazy, but here we are. Just the sheer fact that this film has been holding as well as it has and just continuing to have strong legs even with the stiffest of competition facing in its way is such an achievement for this film, due to the audience it's targeted at and just the sheer length of it, and it just being a music biopic being released around a time where many people are concerned about the current state of theatrical movie going, and many audiences are choosing to go see this movie as counter programming against those big summer blockbusters, which is quite commendable. Honestly, I'm quite impressed with how well this movie is doing currently, because I thought it would do okay at best, but the sheer fact that it's continuing to do as well as it's been doing while also becoming one of the biggest movies of the year, let alone it surpassing a Harry Potter spin-off, is quite outstanding. Don't know if it'll be in the top 5 for any longer. We'll just have to wait and see with that, but as far as right now goes, yeah, it's doing very well for itself. The worldwide numbers are definitely also helping it out, getting it to the doubling point of its $85 million budget, so it's definitely going to become a box office success by the end of next week. But even if so, this film has just done so well against everything else that I think that alone is definitely something worth praising it for. Just the fact that how well it's doing against everything else is quite commendable. So yeah, Elvis turned out to be one of the sleeper hit slash summer surprises of the year right now, and I gotta be honest, I'm quite impressed. Good job, Elvis. Number 3 was Top Gun Maverick, making $15 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $597 million and a worldwide total of $1.1 billion. So this is where we're at, folks. Top Gun Maverick is in its 7th week of theatrical release, and not only is it still one of the top 3, not just 5, but top 3 highest grossing films in America, but it is also just $3 million away from surpassing $600 million domestically, which would make it the 12th film of all time to surpass this total. I don't even know how or what to say in response to this that I haven't said already, but just wow, just good job, I guess. Even though I've said that a billion times while talking about this movie, just the sheer momentum and the sheer weight of this film's success is clearly something I cannot do justice for it any longer. I've ran out of positive things to say about this movie. I'm just in shock and awe at just how big and monumental this film has become, and I'm still just so proud and so happy that it was able to do so, because it was such not only a fantastic movie, but just to see, due to how long the delays were and the struggles and the turmoils the filmmakers had to go through to get this movie onto the big screen, and to see it pay off to this degree is just incredible. I don't know what else to say. Will it ever slow down? Maybe, but it's probably not going to be anytime soon. Again, we're in the 7th weekend of this film being released in theaters. We are in the middle of July, and it's still doing as well as it has done. I don't know when it's going to slow down. I don't know when it's going to start plummeting or interest is going to wane, but it's certainly not going to be anytime soon. I have no other words to say. It's still doing very well. We'll see how well it does next week. I'm sure it's going to be in the top 5 next week, but yeah, bravo, Maverick, bravo. Number 2 was Minions: The Rise of Gru, making $46 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $210 million and a worldwide total of $400 million. So compared to other animated family films, it's actually quite had a steeper drop off than most. In its second weekend, it fell 57%, which is the average drop off you would see for most films. So this isn't a disaster in the sense like something like Space Jam: A New Legacy, the Bob's Burgers movie, or Lightyear. And in the grand scheme of things, it honestly doesn't really affect the film all that much, because the film is doing so well as of late, as it is now officially the highest grossing animated and family film of the year and the post-theater closure era, surpassing both Sing 2 and Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and it's the first animated film to surpass $200 million domestically since Frozen 2, which is quite an achievement. And thanks to its $80 million budget, it has already more than doubled its budget, so it is already in the profit zone and a genuine box office success. And I think, given how Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was able to bounce back from its around 55% drop off, I see no reason why Minions can't do the same. Word of mouth is really helping this movie out. Families and just general moviegoers are really warming up to this movie. It seems that audiences are really liking it and are rushing out to see it, even with the stiff competition and big blockbusters stealing a bit of attention from this film. This movie is still maintaining its core audience of families and just fans of the previous films, that it's helping it out quite a bit. I wouldn't be surprised to see this surpass $500 million worldwide and $300 million domestic, if I'm being honest with you. However, these coming weeks are going to be interesting, because the film will be facing off very stiff competition, those being 2 other animated films releasing in this month, one of which comes out later this week, which we'll get into later. So it's going to be interesting to see if it'll play out like Sonic the Hedgehog 2 or stuff like Bob's Burgers or Lightyear. Will it be able to face off strong or plummet? I'm not sure, but I'm hoping for the former than the latter, as I still think there are many factors helping this movie out, and even if it starts to dip a bit, it's already made so much money right now and is already just become such a huge hit right now that I don't think it would really affect it. The fact that it has already surpassed 200 million is a good sign of things to come for this movie, and I think it's gonna really leg out for the time being. So yeah, Minions: The Rise of Gru is still dominating. It's still doing very well, and I look forward to seeing if it can continue this momentum. And finally, let's end the video off with the number one movie of the weekend, and that was Thor: Love and Thunder, opening with $144 million domestically this weekend and $303 million worldwide. So surprising absolutely no one, Thor killed it this weekend. So let's break some stuff down. Obviously, this is the biggest opening weekend for any Thor film released in the MCU, topping the previous record holder, Thor Ragnarok's $122 million opening weekend back in November of 2017. It is also the third biggest opening weekend of the summer, topping both Top Gun Maverick and Minions: The Rise of Gru, while also being the third biggest opening weekend of the year, topping the Batman and once again Top Gun Maverick. And it is the fourth biggest opening weekend of the post-theater closure era, behind Jurassic World Dominion, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and of course Spider-Man No Way Home. So not too many surprises here. Everyone expected this movie to do well, but obviously not as well as Doctor Strange. There was certainly a lot more buzz and hype going into that film, a lot more theories and speculation, where this was just another Thor film, which people were still once again excited about, and this film certainly made a lot of money. It's going to continue to make a lot more money throughout the summer. But what's really interesting about this weekend's numbers for this movie are the reactions. Much like Eternals, the reactions were quite surprising to many, as when reviews initially started, they were positive, they were good. People were saying, yeah, this is another win for Marvel. But as the weeks got closer to the film's release, the reviews starting to get a bit more divisive and mixed. And when the film finally released in theaters, audiences gave it a B+ on Cinema Score, which might be good for a horror film, but it's not what you want to see for an MCU film, as this is the third film in history to receive a B+ Cinema Score that was released under the MCU. And it is also the second film in Phase 4 to do so, behind Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, as well as the first Thor. So yeah, this is quite the interesting response to this, especially to me. I wasn't expecting this type of reaction to it. It might be something to where the fact that the movie just wasn't that good to many people, or that many people are overwhelmed by the onslaught of Marvel stuff heading their way. I mean, this is their second film released this year, but they've also had several TV shows come out between then, some of which are faring a lot better than their recent movies like Moon Knight and Miss Marvel. So it is quite the interesting thing to see here, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see this film suffer the same fate that Doctor Strange did, where while it doesn't really amount to anything because the film was such a big hit, and this film will probably still be a big hit, I do think we are going to see a very steep drop-off in its second weekend due to the polarizing reactions that might turn away some people and might cause them to wait until it drops on Disney Plus due to the fact that it's not living up to expectations. So yeah, this is going to be something we're going to have to take a look at for the coming weeks. Will it overpower these current mixed reactions from both critics and audiences, or will it suffer the same fate as Doctor Strange, or maybe even the Eternals? I don't know, but as far as things are going right now, it's off to a very solid start. This is another great opening for the MCU. I can't see anyone being upset over this opening weekend right now, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how well this movie does for the coming weeks regarding these reactions. But as for right now, it's off to a very solid start. And those were the top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, but we're not quite done yet as we've got another week ahead of us and new movies hitting theaters. And this weekend we've got quite the crowded weekend as we've got 4 new movies hitting theaters this weekend. And while I'm certain that would cause a much bigger shakeup in a normal summer, I gotta be honest, I only think 2 out of the 4 are going to make enough to crack the top 5, as Marcel the Shell with Shoes On and Miss Harris Go to Paris. I gotta be honest, while the buzz for how good the movies are is very strong, I'm not seeing it with core regular moviegoers, and the marketing for either of them hasn't been the best in my opinion, so I think those are going to enter lower on the charts. But as for the 2 that I think will top the charts, I gotta be honest, I don't think they're going to necessarily top the charts, if you know what I mean. The first being Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank. Now, this is a particularly interesting animated film we have here, because not for the quality of the film, but just for the production history and how long it took to get this movie released. Like, my goodness, I remember when this was supposed to come out in late 2017, but apparently there was some trouble finding a studio to release the film, and then it seemed like it was never going to come out until Paramount finally picked it up and is now officially releasing it in movie theaters this weekend, basically. Obviously, that's a brief summary of what happened with this movie, and I'm sure there are other much better videos and explanations on this film's troubled history, but likewise, we're here to talk about how I think this movie is going to do at the box office. And animated films have been a bit up and down in terms of the post-theater closure era. Some of them can do very well, others can do pretty poorly, and Paramount has also had an interesting post-theater closure era because they've had many hits, especially this year, but they've also had a couple duds as well. And if I'm going to be honest, I think this one's probably going to be a dud. Not in the same sense as like Spirit Untamed or Ron's Gone Wrong, where they were just dead on arrival, as I'm sure there are probably a bit more interest in these films and more awareness around this movie because A, there was marketing put into this film, but I gotta be honest, the marketing has not been the best. Sure, I've seen promos for it, but not to the point where I think it's gotten the attention of families and general moviegoers. And the fact that it's being wedged right in the middle of Minions: The Rise of Gru, which just came out and completely took the world by storm, and DC League of Super Pets, which is a movie that doesn't come out till later this month, but will probably also do interesting numbers and probably open a bit better than this movie. I think this movie is going to suffer because of that due to the appeal of these other 2 animated films that are being much more advertised and much more appealing to families. So while I don't think it's going to be a complete bomb, I do think this might be a bit of a dud that we see in theaters this weekend in terms of animated family films. But we'll see. It could surprise. I mean, The Bad Guys had low expectations and that went on to surpass all of them. So who knows? This might surprise, but right now I'm going to be pretty skeptical of this film's success. Then the other film releasing this weekend is Where the Crawdads Sing. This is a drama thriller based off of the best-selling book of the same name, geared towards older audiences. And let me be frank, this is kind of a wild card because while older audiences have shown improvement in terms of wanting to go back to movie theaters, a la Top Gun Maverick and even Elvis, I gotta question if enough of them will be willing to go to the theater to see this movie, because I'm not seeing the buzz with this film, not hearing too many people talk about it or get all that interested about it. The fact that the marketing as well for this film has not been the best. I've certainly seen promotion, but not to the point where I can think that it's capturing the attention of general moviegoers. And given the other competition it's going to be facing off in terms of July and late August releases, I can see this movie being swept under the rug. I honestly don't know how well this movie is going to do. It really is a puzzle to me, as I've been thinking about this movie for the longest out of any of the movies releasing this summer. It could do good, but it also could tank. Who knows, honestly. This is a really interesting one. I'm sorry if I'm rambling a bit here with this one specifically. It's just I could see this going in multiple directions. It could surprise or it could tank. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see how well this movie does when it hits theaters this weekend, as well as the rest of the movies that land in the top 5 on the next Box Office Chat. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you all think of the results? Were you satisfied, unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all the social media links right there. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.